there are those in our party who believe that as the presiding officer over the joint session of Congress, that I possess unilateral authority to reject electoral college votes. And I heard this week that President Trump said I had the right to overturn the election. But President Trump is wrong. I had no right to overturn the election. The presidency belongs to the American people and the American people alone. And frankly, there is no idea more un-American than the notion that any one person could choose the American president.
Oh my God, Mike Pence said that's un-American. He's wrong, straight up, with his cadence like he's speaking. Now, in case you guys were thinking that Mike Pence has broken free of the spell of the Republican Party, saying that things have gone wrong with them, specifically with this election, and Donald Trump claiming that he could have overturned it, overturned it. Don't worry, Mike Pence is still toeing the line just enough to say the Democrats are to blame as well. Watch.
Under the Constitution, I had no right to change the outcome of our election. And Kamala Harris will have no right to overturn the election when we beat them in 2024.
So yeah, to make sure you guys understand this, I want to make sure you know, we're not gonna let the Democrats do it either. We're not. That's not what happened. This is why would we worry about Kamala Harris doing what Donald Trump wants you to do? It doesn't matter as long as we evoke one of the most hated Democrats, because she's a woman and she's black and she's in the White House. Then we can make sure that we get beyond the fact that we just heard Mike Pence say that Donald Trump was completely wrong and un-American. Maybe he can save face a little bit because he's definitely looking to run for president again over that. Now, by the way, Mike Pence maybe didn't need any backup for this, but he got it from his former chief of staff as a vice president. But I feel like he's still advising him now because he backed him up on this against Trump. Let's watch Mark Short talk about this.
The vice president has commented on January 6th on several occasions, including last summer at the Ronald Reagan Library. And he extended those remarks a little bit this week at the Federalist Society, primarily because the president's comments about the vice president had the ability to overturn the election, I think merited response. Of course, there's nothing in the 12th Amendment or the Electoral Count Act that would afford a vice president that authority. It's why no vice president in 200 years has ever used that authority. And it's certainly not one that I think conservatives or Republicans would want Kamala Harris the ability to say she's going to reject votes from Texas or Wyoming or any other state heading into 2024. I think, unfortunately, the president had many bad advisors who were basically snake oil salesmen, giving him really random and novel ideas as to what the vice president could do.
Wow. Man, snake oil salesman even around the president. This is weird because Mark Short, before he was Pence's, before he was his advisor or his chief of staff, he worked for Donald Trump. And then, things changed because he said, I think I'm gonna lean towards Mike Pence here. So it appears he still is doing that. One guy who's very unhappy about that is Steve Bannon. He took his War Room podcast to bash Mark Short and also Mike Pence about their opposition to the president. Let's watch him.
Wow. That's not what President Trump. What President Trump said is you had the full right to revert back to the states, like Jay Corman in Pennsylvania, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania's President Pro Tem, sent you a letter and requested that you send it back to the state legislatures so they could review the process of how they certified the Biden electors. Pence, you're gonna carry this thing eventually to your grave, okay? Because it is a mark of shame, and you are a stone cold coward. A stone cold coward. Boris Epstein. We're going to start with numbers and analysis, and then this thing broke this afternoon. My head's blown up. So Boris, you got to help me out here, brother. I can't take Pence, and I can't take Pence and Mark Short and all these Koch guys up there ratting out Trump up on Capitol Hill right now.
There's so much there. Ratting out Trump and Capitol Hill we'll get to, but really fast, David, before I let you jump in here. He said that's not what he said, Mike. It's not what he said. He didn't say overturn the election. What's wrong with you? You're gonna take us to your grave. Statement from Donald Trump. What they are saying is that Mike Pence did have the right to change the outcome, and they now want to take that away, is what he said in a statement. Unfortunately, he didn't exercise that power. He could have overturned the election. I mean, which one are you gonna believe? You gonna believe Steve Bannon is talking about this, or you gonna believe Donald Trump who said what Steve Bannon said Donald Trump didn't say, David?
Every time I see Steve Bannon, I think Jabba the Hutt. I mean, he's looking increasingly like he belongs in Star Wars in a bar. It's hard to take anything Steve Bannon says seriously. The fact of the matter is Mike Pence was told that it was wrong 14 months ago by Dan Quayle. When he asked the former vice president, this is something that Donald Trump should do. Should I do this or not? And Quayle said, no, you can't. It would be wrong to do it. For Pence to come out now, almost 14 months later, it's not exactly a profile in courage. And the reason that he's doing it now is because of polling. The polling shows that something like over 50% of Republicans now identify as Republicans and not as the party of Donald Trump. The numbers for Donald Trump are now down in the 30s. You have Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the Senate, who's distancing himself from Donald Trump. You have Karl Rove. It goes on and on and on. The number of people who are essentially getting away from Donald Trump as the January 6th committee gets closer to showing that Donald Trump was behind the conspiracy to try to pull this thing off. Donald Trump has the walls coming in, and Mike Pence sees it and doesn't want to be caught on the wrong side of history for the long term. But this isn't exactly a brave statement by Mike Pence. He could have done it a year ago.
Yeah, because as you've seen, the talking point is that, hey, we don't want Kamala Harris to do it. Pence said it, Mark Short said it, Marco Rubio said it. It's the talking point. And maybe we can convince people that we're not on that side, but we want to make sure that they don't think that we're like pushing for Democrats. They need to toe this line, and Donald Trump has put them in this position where they'd like to pilfer his insane supporters without being Donald Trump, without him on board. Because as you mentioned, the walls are closing in. That's why the January 6th committee is a scam until they find the things that you'd like for them to find, and then you want to eliminate the other things. Because I remember Trump said that the January 6th committee should investigate Pence. He also said that a week or two ago, didn't he? Because Mike Pence didn't overturn the election in his favor like he should have. This is where we are now. Just continue to notice who the snake oil salesmen are that Mark Short was talking about, while he's still, I'm not gonna get to this clip, but he still points out that, there's all kinds of fraud in the election. So how can you say that Donald Trump is wrong in saying it, and then you back up his claim that there was fraud in the election? They're trying to play both sides of it, bottom line.